Welcome back to this, the fourth part in my Welcome to Querious series. In this one we shall be looking at travelling around, different ways to move around the region and safe ways to travel. Of course, this being Eve, nothing is ever completely safe, but we do the best we can to keep as safe as we can with the tools available. So hopefully this video will help you to travel more safely and arrive at your destination with ship and cargo intact. So when we're talking about travelling, we're specifically talking here about moving between systems in EVE Online. So I don't mean warping between stations inside one system or moving around on a grid. I mean actually travelling and changing between various systems, constellations and regions. When you do travel, there are a number of different ways, more than might be obvious on the surface. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these in a lot of detail, because by the time you have access to some of the higher level options, then hopefully you will know what to do with them. But just to give a very, very quick overview, essentially you have ships which are jump drive capable, which is primarily capital ships, which also includes jump freighters, and then you have the Black Ops battleships, such as the one I was showing at the start of the video. So all of these ships are able to lock on to something called a sinusoidal beacon, which has been lit in another system within range, and jump immediately to it without needing to pass through the gates in between. Titans and Black Ops ships are also able to create something called bridges, which will allow them to take other ships along with them. In particular, the Black Ops ships are able to take other ships able to fit a Covert Ops Cloak, which includes the Blockade Runner Tech 2 Industrial. So that is a large transport ship capable of carrying a substantial cargo, and the Black Ops ship is able to transport it directly to its destination without needing to pass through any gates in between. Something you may often see if you join a strategic operation is that we'll begin the op using a Titan bridge. So that is where the Titan doesn't just jump itself, but it actually uses its jump drives to enable the entire fleet to jump through and then let the fleet get to their destination quicker. For the rest of this video, we're going to be talking about gate travel, specifically the passing through regular gates and using the Ansible X jump gates, which work in almost the same way, but there are a few differences that we'll touch on. So the Ansible X jump bridges, they do shorten the route a lot. However, that doesn't stop the enemies from camping them. Everyone knows where they are, everyone is able to see them, see where they go on the map. And as I mentioned in my previous video, the jump bridge from 9CG to 3TAC-F in particular is very frequently camped with eyes on both sides and people ready to ambush it. There is an autopilot setting that you should use. If you turn that on, then it will automatically route through the jump bridges. You should definitely turn that on. They will make a big difference to how easily you can travel around. There is another setting you should use, which is the auto payment. The operators of the jump bridges are allowed to charge a fee for their usage, and you can say that up to a certain amount you will automatically pay the fee, which will save you a click when you try and jump through. And that click could be the difference between making it through or not in a high pressure situation. But sometimes the smart play is to go another way. When you are travelling, you need to look at your route and gather intelligence about what you're expecting to see. Now, a lot of these tools are very easy and quick to use, so although this may seem like a lot to set up, in fact, once you've got the tools set up once, you can just keep using them over and over again very easily. So it is well worth thinking about this. So for example, there is a website called GateCheck that will warn you of the probability of camps along your route. So if people have been there and killing people for a while, particularly if you're travelling through low security areas or a little bit further from the usual Brave space, this is a very valuable tool. Within the Brave space, there's the intelligence channels and the standing fleet, so you should always join int.querious, and then that will let you be warned of any hostiles moving around in the area. And please, if you see any yourself, then report them. Sentinel is a test tool that all of the Legacy Coalition use, and it collates together those intelligence reports and allows you to see them and process them more easily. So I would recommend having a quick look at all of those tools. Make absolutely sure that you've joined the intelligence channels inside the game, and consider using things like Sentinel and so on to help keep yourself safe whilst you're out there and travelling around. So once you've chosen your route and you've gathered your intelligence and it all looks clear, the last thing you want to do is make sure that you are fit for travel. So that doesn't mean going down the gym and doing a workout. That means prepare your ship accordingly. So if you've got a drone bay, make sure you've got a flight of ECM drones in there. If you get tackled, launch those drones, put them on the tackle. You may get lucky and it'll break their lock and let you escape. There's no guarantee. ECM is always chance based, but a 5% chance is still better than a 0% chance. And all you need to do is break the tackle for long enough to walk away. You should always align whilst you're doing that. So you align to whatever you're planning to warp to for your escape. You put the ECM drones on and you keep trying to warp, and as soon as the ECM drones manage to break the tackler's lock, you just warp away. Be aware that using the drones will give you an aggression timer. So if you're warping to a friendly structure, then you should immediately warp on elsewhere, because if they follow you to the structure, you will not be able to tether or dock until your aggression timer has run down. So ideally, you would want to be warping to something like a safe spot or somewhere else where you can then wait out your aggression timer and move on before finally going to a structure once you're able to tether. So as I just said, don't try to jump gate, dock or tether after you've used the ECM drones, because they will give you that aggression timer. The low slots on your ship are very valuable, and whilst if you're in an industrial you may be tempted to fill them up with cargo expanders, and that is certainly a viable choice to make, any that you don't need to be used for that should really be used for inertial and warp core stabilizers. So the inertial stabilizers will let you get into warp faster, which will give enemies less time to find you and tackle you, and the warp core stabilizers will let you warp away even if they do manage to get that point onto you. There are things like bubbles, heavy interdictors, and even just putting enough warp scramblers onto your tackling ship that mean that no matter how many warp core stabilizers you use, it's never going to be enough. However, it will help you escape if you just have the bad luck to warp onto a gate at the same time as an enemy interceptor lands. And that's really all we're trying to do here. We're trying to make it as hard as possible for someone else to catch you and give you the best chance of reaching your destination. We have stations in most of the systems that you're likely to be using, or at least a station nearby, so you can refit once you get to your destination with whatever you need for your objective, but whilst you're travelling you want to be as safe as possible. A micro jump drive can also be helpful, so if you use that with a battleship for example and you get caught on the gate, then as long as you're not scrambled and you're only warp disrupted, align to something like a friendly structure in system and then activate the micro jump drive. It will jump you forwards, keeping your current speed and orientation, so that you can then immediately warp as soon as you emerge, and hopefully you will be 100 kilometers away from whoever was tackling you, and that will give you time to escape. Don't panic though, always make sure you align and then activate the MJD. If you do not, then it is entirely possible that the enemy interceptors will be able to chase after you and grab you again before you get into that warp. There are a number of uses for the cloak. The first is the simplest, which is that if there's an enemy in the system and there's nowhere friendly for you to go and tether or dock, then you can just go to a safe spot. And do always use a safe spot, not just going to a celestial, because you don't want to be accidentally decloaked. And then when you're at that safe spot, you activate your cloak and you are completely safe until the enemies leave. You can also use it on a gate. For example, if you see someone chasing you through the gate and you're in a slow ship, you may decide that you are safer to just cloak up immediately rather than trying to warp away and hope no one manages to spot you and decloak you. It's obviously not ideal, but again, some chance of surviving is better than no chance of surviving. So if you think there is no chance at all that you'll be able to warp away, then you can just try and cloak and hope that none of them get a fix on you in time to do a decloak. A related trick is something called the MWD cloak trick. Now, the first use of this is for getting into warp, particularly in low sec or other areas where there's no bubbles involved. I shall demonstrate how to do the micro warp cloak trick at the end of the video, but for now it's enough for you to know that this is a way to try and use the speed bonus from your micro warp drive to counteract the speed penalties from your cloak and allow you to align and be ready to warp so that when you decloak you can warp very quickly. I would recommend practicing this maneuver a few times just without any pressure, just going between some friendly structures or something similar, just to make sure you understand how it's done. So the time that you jump into a system and you see an enemy interceptor waiting, you already know what you need to do, and you have those clicks down and ready and practiced. If there's a bubble, then you obviously can't do the warping part of the MWD cloak trick, but it is still worth moving yourself in a random direction away from the gate, hit the propulsion module and then hit the cloak. You will cloak up within a second, but the enemy could well have got a fix on you and they'd be trying to burn over to decloak you. The fact that you're moving will give you that little bit more of a chance to get away. Again, you're in trouble. This is your best chance to survive, and all of these tricks are about giving you the best chance to survive. Nothing will ever make you safe. As I've said many times before, this is Eve. Eve is a dangerous universe. You are going to lose ships, but what we can do is give you as many tools as possible to both know where the safer places to travel are and how you can avoid the most threats and have the best chance to survive when you do run into trouble. And the last thing with cloaks that I do want to share is do not cloak at a shared tack. And if you're planning to go AFK whilst cloaked, then I would recommend leaving the standing fleets. The reason for doing that is basically you don't want someone to come in and warp to you and then accidentally, or potentially if they're a spy, deliberately decloak you so that someone else can come in and get the gank. So just make sure you have your own tack that's separate from anyone else, your own safe spot. It doesn't matter where it is, as long as it's not a bookmark that you're sharing with other people and that you're not in a fleet with anyone, and then you are very safe. And the last thing to remember with the cloaking is the safe log option. So again, if you're operating in a system without any friendly structures where you can dock and log off, you have the option, if you turn off all of your modules, leave fleet, then you can right click on your capacitor and select safe log. There will be a 30-second countdown, and at the end of it you will completely leave the game and you are at that point safe. So you know that you have successfully logged off and you're not going to come back and find yourself in a pod. So I'm going to demonstrate the micro warp cloak trick now. I'm using this interdictor. You can do this trick with any size of ship, but if you have a micro warp and a cloak, it works better with an improved cloak, but you can do it with a proto cloak. It works better with a micro warp, but you can do it with an afterburner. So I've jumped through the gate. You can see here that I'm holding my gate cloak. I'm having a look around. Oh no, there's some hostiles here. They're going to try and tackle me. So I want to get out. So I'm going to select my safe point that I'm going to try and go to. In that case, it's this Athanor. So I'm going to do 3 things very quickly. Now this will be faster if you use your keyboard shortcuts to do it. I'm going to do it with mouse clicks just to demonstrate all of the process exactly. So as soon as I start aligning, that is going to break my gate cloak. So I'm going to immediately activate my cloak and my micro warp. So start align, cloak, micro warp. You'll notice that for a brief second after I activate the cloak, I can still activate the micro warp. If I tried now, it would not let me. You need to do it very quickly. As soon as the micro warp ends, break the cloak, warp. And you'll see I was already aligned and I was already nearly at speed, so I made it into warp within 1 to 2 seconds, which is enough that only a very fast locking ship would have been able to get me. Had I had an improved cloak rather than the proto cloak, my speed under the micro warp would have been faster and I would have been even safer. If I now warp back, you'll see the difference in terms of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that 5-second window would be enough time for most tackle to be able to grab me. And that really is the difference. That's what you're gaining by using that trick, is they only have 1 or 2 seconds. So we should demonstrate it once more. Again, I should use the mouse clicks. So I'm jumping through to PTAC-Z. On the other side, size up the area, work out where I want to get to. The keep star looks like a nice safe place, so that's going to be my destination. If there was a bubble here, then obviously this wouldn't work, and I would have to just try and burn out of the bubble cloaked and hope that I manage to get away. So I'm going to align, cloak, micro warp. Again, the micro warp, when it finishes its cycle, is going to automatically stop, so I want to be ready to turn off my cloak as soon as it finishes. So it's going to finish now, cloak off, warp. And you can see just how quickly I warped. So there you go, that's the micro-warp cloak trick. It's a very handy way to help your ships that are a bit slower than interceptors get close to what is effectively an insta-warp, and it makes it a lot harder for the enemy tackle to catch you as you're passing through that gate. So, I hope that was helpful. I hope this was a nice little finale to my video. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching. I've now shown you most of the things that I wanted to cover, so welcome to Querious. I hope you have a long and profitable stay in our new home here with Brave. Thank you very much, and goodbye.